This project is aimed towards producing a mech-type robot. As it's something I've not attempted before, I'll also look at different ways to present my final piece. With knowing the direction I want to go in, research was done in areas of robots and mechs, such as the Fallout 3 conceptual design, the Ed 209 robot from the original Robocops, as well as Evangelion, Ghost in the Shell, Pat Labor, Armored Core, and the Mantis from Halo 4, as well as this book released by various artists, Nothing But Mech. This was used to help me in the produce of my conceptual design to move ahead to this. Although a basic sketch, it does give a body shape as well as arms and legs to follow for the modelling phase. With my concept done, I decided to look at the Gundams for colour schemes. As you can see, most are made up of two main colours, either a metal and a red or a metal and a blue with subcolours, sometimes yellow or red. With these looked at, I decided to use the Joker as my influence for my colour scheme, with greens, yellows and purples, with green and purple being the prominent and a yellow being the subcolour. Using the low poly model of my mech that I've been producing, I've done a quick colour scheme in 3D coat. With a colour scheme, a concept drawing and a low poly model already, I decided to place it up on Polycount. As of yet, I have received no feedback whatsoever. As you can see, as the first attempt at Robot and V-Ray, I have over 110 views and no replies. This has been the case on previous works, such as the John Noble I done for ZBrush 1. There's over 340 views and 3 replies, all of which were my own with updating of my work. So with no replies to work on, I decided to push forward with the model myself. With pushing forward with the model, I ended up with a quadruped and a Gundam-esque body and arms on the top, and thrusters on the rear. After receiving some feedback and the quadruped not suiting the upper style of the body, I then moved on to a bipedal, following the Gundam-esque legs again. With my bipedal now finished in Max, I decided to move over to ZBrush, and using the tutorial by Mike Jensen at E3D, the hard surface techniques, I used alphas provided in this to start adding to the mesh, mainly the face. As you can see, it's all been imported in parts. This is just the head, and I started using the alpha brushes provided to just put screws in to add little details, just to make it look like it's been panelled. With some work done now in ZBrush using the alphas provided by the tutorial and alphas found by myself, such as the little Joker imprint, I decided to put a basic layer of texturing down. Although it looks too flat, it gives me an idea of what to expect, where I might find some problems, such as the paint over little splashes and the flatness in the paint. Also, the Joker-esque paint on the face, which looks too much like makeup, so that would be removed and placed with a more standard Gundam style face mask and visor. With me following the tutorial for hard surfacing, it led me down two separate routes. One is to go for a game character into a game's engine, which I have done before. Knowing this, I already had a low poly created and I unwrapped. Although the unwrap isn't as clean as some unwraps, because some was done in ZBrush and some was done by myself, such as the waist and some of the body. This was done because I was following the route into Games Engine, I was going to try texturing in ZBrush and using ZAppLink. And doing this, I'd done a quick test with the flat paint and some normals projected in UDK. And with doing this already, I thought I have another option to go down a high poly mesh into Max using V-Ray to do the texturings in Photoshop. So I decided to go down that route instead, as it was something I've not done and I found it might be challenging to do so. Going down the rendering out of V-Ray to put my textures together using 3ds Max, I had to set up a V-Ray scene using V-Ray lights and V-Ray textures. As you can see, each one has different reflective glossiness and anti-aliasing to give different effects, such as a flat metal, as one I've rendered out before, compared to one with anti-aliasing, which appears as such as a shiny glossy metal. It adds a stretched effect over it, and by rendering all these different passes out, I'm able to get different effects. And by using this in Photoshop, I can add different layers to the texture to give it more realistic and a more of an impactful look. As you can see, by first getting my renders out using different render passes such as base metals, the purple paints, an undercoat and an overcoat for each, as well as the green, and then using car paint as well, just to give it that dulled down effect so it didn't look so glossy. The next steps on from there, we're adding scratches and grime. Then on from there is going into decals and changing of ambient occlusion and depth. So finally adding some weapons, just to add another layer to the final production so it doesn't look so sparse. As you see, to get to this final point that I am at, there are several groups in my layers, each one colour coded. As you can see in the base textures, there's a mask so nothing bleeds out, as well as all the different car paints and base metals. And in the decals we have all, some have been affected by different masks in different layers right now. Then we have the scratches, which without it looks really base, and it's just by adding metal renders and masking out where I want scratches to appear, just added that much more to the mech, as well as a background by masking out ambient occlusion, just to add more shadowing around the bottom. So that's the ambient occlusion. And then as the last touch, the gun work, by adding depth of field in on the gun as well as the gun decals just on the base and the side. This took a lot of time to put together in Photoshop. It's not something I've done before, using the high poly model and rendering out all the textures to bake onto it to present as a final piece. But it was a different route to go down in the tutorial, and as it was one that I've not done before, I thought maybe it's something I should try. And as it stands against the other piece of work from the tutorial, as you can see the end model from the tutorial, as though it's not on the same level, it holds some of the different effects in it, as the scratches, bit of grunge on the armour, as well as some of the decals fit in really well, I think, around the gun and the legs and on the upper side. As the first step in V-Ray and Photoshop together, producing a final piece, I think it's a big step forward, and another step closer to producing something like this. Carrying on and going towards more like this, I would really like to aim for that. And I think with the time and effort put into this model that I've done myself, I think if I doubled that time, I'd be that much closer to getting the final piece from the tutorial.